I'm just going to introduce a few tips and exercises for you to do, some little short videos to watch so that you can start thinking more creatively and then turn those creative ideas into illustrations. So enjoy and have fun. Okay, here's what you'll need. Paper. Doesn't matter what sort, whatever you happen to have around. Some coloured paper if you have some, but don't worry if you don't, because you can always colour it in. Some pens and pencils. I use the triplus fibretip pens by STAEDTLER, which have a really good range of colour. Some scissors and a ruler, and if you have a craft knife, that might be useful too. So, tip 1. How to start thinking creatively. We're going to do a quick exercise. Don't worry, it's not that sort of an exercise. This exercise can be done as often as you like, and it helps you to start thinking creatively. So we're going to think about an everyday object differently. Choose any object. It might be a pen or a chair. It might be a rubbish bin or a coat hanger. Anything you like. If you can't think of anything, don't worry. Just use one of my suggestions. So we're going to think of 10 ways you could use that object. The more ridiculous, the better. It might be for a hoop or a mouse bar, plant holder, or to practice your golf. Doesn't matter. The point is you're thinking and creating different, unusual ways to use that everyday object. If 10 seems easy to do, then do 20. You keep pushing your ideas. The point is to keep going until you can't think of anything else. And when you can't possibly think of any more, do 2 more. Just remember, you don't have to draw these. You can just write them down. This exercise forces you to keep on thinking and pushing your ideas. The thinking is you being creative. You can use this tip anytime and as often as you like. The more you do it, the easier it gets to start thinking in a more creative way about anything. Soon, you'll be able to do this in your head, and you can apply your creative thinking to your own project. Tip number 2, using shape and space. You don't need to be an artist or have any art training to show your ideas visually. You can simply use shape and the space on your page. A shape or a group of shapes can create a strong visual message. Just using 2 triangles, we've got a simple boat. If we want to show movement, all we need to do is move one of the triangles, tilt it on its side. Using the space on the page can communicate a message as well. So what we're going to do is show a person standing safely near a cliff edge. If you move them closer to the edge, you've created a dangerous situation just by using the space and the location on the page. So let's increase the danger by adding a threat. It's a low threat because we've kept the space between the objects. But if we move that threat closer and then we add eyes to it, we've decreased the space and we've increased the threat. Let's make that threat bigger still and move it closer. The threat is perceived not only because of the proximity of the objects, but also because we've added an intimidating shape to the eyes and the colour red, which we associate with warning or danger. We can reduce the threat without changing the space, but by changing the eyes. Watch what happens when we change that one element. The threat has disappeared. What we can now see is an inquisitive look or a comedic look. If you want to make a connection with your audience, you need to get your character to look at them. The audience are outside your image looking in, so you get your character to look out at them, and they will pull your audience into the story. So we've seen that small changes in space and colour and shape determine how your image will look and what it's saying to its audience. Let's have a look at how we can create a sense of depth and density in an environment. We're going to create a wood, so we're going to look at trees, dark shapes and lots of small space to create that density. Or maybe we just want a few trees on the edge of a field, so we need lots of space and just a few of the darker trees. Let's add someone hiding in the woods, so they're going to need to be towards the back, in the background and behind some of those trees. And now let's bring them to the foreground, so they look as though they're entering the woods. So just a few tips there to help with the next exercise. Try to bear them in mind as you start creating your own image. How often has someone said to you when you're trying to think of something to do, just be creative, draw anything? And you, never having done anything arty at all, have stared into space with a blank piece of paper, trying to come up with any idea or way forward. It's impossible. In the last exercise, we showed you how to start thinking creatively. So this time, we're going to make a piece of simple artwork, and it will give you a way to get going, no matter what your drawing skills are. To begin this exercise, you're going to think of a story you know well. It might be a fairy tale or a favourite novel or a movie. And choose a scene. Picture it in your head. All we're going to do is juggle shapes and colour to create your scene. You can do the same one as I'm doing, or you can do your own. I'm going to choose Jack and the Beanstalk, but if you've decided to do your own scene, you'll just have to make the decisions on which shapes you'll need as we go along. So Jack is young, he's small, so to start with, a little round shape will represent him. We associate the circle with many things such as friendship or gentleness, and we talk of being a rounded person, so this is a good shape to use for our wee hero. Now the beanstalk. It's tall and strong, so we'll use a long, solid rectangle. But it also has curling vines, so let's create those with a wavy line, and we can then wrap that around the beanstalk. Remember, this is all representational. It won't look like a drawing yet, but it will take shape. So we need a giant. The giant is the opposite of Jack. He's heavy, solid, sharp, so a large square. The giant's climbing down the beanstalk, so place him up at the top. And he's going to be red. He's going to symbolise danger and warning. Let's place him behind the vine. Jack now needs an axe to cut the beanstalk down, so a small triangle will work. Now we need to add some detail, so the axe has a handle and the vine has leaves. So we're just going to cut out several leaf shapes and just arrange them down the vine. Place the handle of the axe with the head of the axe. So we can see the picture is starting to take shape. Jack lives in a forest, so I'm going to add some simple trees using a triangle and a long thick line for a trunk. He also has a house in the forest, so using a rectangle and a trapezium, it's really easy to create a house. Add these elements. See how the scene is now starting to take shape. Keep adding more trees and leaves and keep building and building the scene. Now we can start adding some features and we're going to bring the scene to life. So you can change some colours if you want to. Add some eyes, a mouth and nose to Jack, or you can start adding little details, put a little body in, put some arms on. So what we now have is a really basic scene made from paper, shapes, colour and a few drawn lines, but you can see how it's coming together to look like a picture. The great thing about this method is its simplicity. It's a quick way to plan a layout. You can leave it there, or if you want, you can take this a step further. I'll show you how to use this layout to start creating your own drawings. Tip 3. Use references. Always. No one can design in a vacuum. If you're not sure of what something looks like or how it looks from a particular angle, find a picture. Look in a magazine, a book, or online, or look at the actual object. This is how you learn to draw. Look 10 times, draw once. Keep looking back at your reference. Draw what you actually see, not what you think you see. For our last exercise, we're going to use references. So to start with, you'll use the reference you've just made. You're going to draw a new piece by tracing over your layout and using it as a reference. Most of us don't have a light box at home, but we do have windows. You can create your own light box. You take the layout and you stick it to the window. Now you take another piece of paper and you stick it over the top. The light behind will let you see the image through the top sheet. You can now draw onto the top sheet of paper and copy the layout below. But what you don't want to do this time is copy exactly what is on your layout. Use it as a guide so you can start creating and building your own characters. Add details, look at references to see how you can make lots of small changes. And you can do this several times. Each time you're retracing the image before and you're building up your drawing. This time, instead of using your shape layout, you can try creating a new one. You're going to go through the same process to think about what you want to create, only this time cut out images from the paper, magazines, or print them off the internet. Cut out these images, build the scene just as we did with the shapes. Take your time to arrange it the way you want. Some images might overlap others. It won't look perfect, and that's okay. While you're doing it, think about what makes you laugh or what makes you cry, and you can express all of this in your picture. Find anything, any image that will act as a guide to what you want to draw. Then all you need to do is trace over the top and change the drawings to suit your style. Use them as a guide to get perspective and scale, posture or expression. Don't expect this to take 10 minutes. It might take you an hour or 4 hours, but let yourself engage with it and give yourself time. Finding something funny or ironic about a situation is a good way to start getting ideas. Imagine the scene in your head and go step by step through the processes I've shown you. I hope this has given you some inspiration to get creative. Keep practicing and you can only improve. But most of all, have fun doing it. Thanks so much for joining me. Next time someone tells you to get creative, you can.